All right, guys, welcome to Bite Me. This is season 2, episode 15 interview with veganteacher1988 from TikTok. TikTok's a great place for oppressed women to congregate. There's actual oppression, like the disproportionate rate at which minorities are incarcerated, or I don't know, voter suppression. Then there's covert oppression. An example of this would be the abortion desert in South Dakota, or lack of available resources for abused women. Hell, even in our own court system, women are frequently discarded as crazy or emotional when reciting the actions of a narcissistic ex. Gone are the first and second waivers who burnt bras and coined women's lib. This is a new era of feminists, unheard Gen X's and millennials. Now, I do have it pretty bad in my red state, but I can only think of one where it might be worse, Wyoming. That's why I've brought on veganteacher1988 from TikTok to discuss exactly how many rights women still don't have. Let's lay it all out right here on Bite Me. Sarah, would you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Sarah. As you said, I live in Wyoming. I am a teacher. I have one son. I have 4 dogs.
Okay.
So I can connect with you on that level. I feel like I run a doggy daycare.
Yeah, but you don't get paid.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. I just try to be an activist and a feminist and all those things in my conservative area, which has been definitely a challenge, but I kind of embrace the challenge at this point.
You get used to the death threats eventually, you know. It's like, oh, okay, it's first one today. That's a good day to only get 2 death threats instead of 15.
Right.
Yeah, Sarah and I kind of live our life by the principle of, I think, leave the world a better place than you found it and try as best you can not to be a shit person. And I feel like those are core values for most women, or should be. White women, if you're out there listening. You have watched and liked a few of my TikToks, and it is to suggest that perhaps you strongly relate to them, which I can only imagine comes from, a story of your own. What catapulted your desire to speak about women's issues on a larger platform? And is there a particular experience that stands out in your mind?
So it's funny because when I first started my TikTok, I didn't intentionally think I was going to be this activist TikToker, but then just the climate of the world today, it kind of fell into my lap, so to speak, and more things started happening. And I actually had a friend from high school text me, and she was like, I love that you're doing this, because I remember when we were in our freshman biology class and literally the whole room was pro-life, and you at 15 were arguing pro-choice and putting them in their place, even the teacher. And I really didn't have a lot. That wasn't a significant memory in my mind, but it was to her. And she has since changed her stance as we've gone out and become educated people in the world. And so that really opened my eyes to, wow, like I really should keep talking about it, because it does matter to people. People are hearing it and can relate to it. And I think coming from a conservative area, not everyone here feels that way. So I also think in my area, when people see my content, there are teenagers out there, for example, that maybe every other adult they know has different views. So they feel not safe to be themselves, but maybe teenagers that had me as well, I know her and I know she's not a crazy person. So it's okay for me to think differently than all these people around me.
It probably refortifies that fact in their mind, the part where you are a teacher. Because teachers are educators and nurturers. And so to them, that's probably like, oh, maybe they feel like I'm not crazy, because they're being gaslit with all of these notions by conservative population, which is primarily there in Wyoming.
Right.
I don't understand what goes on in Wyoming. About the third question, we'll get into that here. And maybe Sarah will answer some of our questions about Liz Cheney. But when I asked you to be on the podcast, I inquired what issues you feel stand out to you the most, and you said abortion. I have it pretty bad in South Dakota. We were talking a little bit before the podcast, and I had talked about how I interviewed an abortion agency here in South Dakota. It is a designated abortion desert out here. Like, we send people to other states. I can only imagine what it must be like in Wyoming. What, if any, resources do women have there? What's it like for women in that situation?
Not great. But there are some options depending on what part of the state you're in. Fort Collins has an abortion clinic. So if you're on that side of the state, that can be accessible. Our most liberal area, Jackson Hole, has one clinic, Women's Health and Family Care. They'll do abortions up to 10 weeks.
Okay.
Pro-choice
That's
Wyoming.
cool. I would have never guessed that.
Mm-hmm.
Good for them.
Yeah, which is kind of our like the blue area of like they have a mask mandate and everything still. Well, they did last I checked. I shouldn't say they do now, but Chelsea's fund is a Wyoming based, and it's based out of Lander, Wyoming, and she'll help pay for abortions. Well, I say she, but that organization will help pay, whether that be like mail order, if it's early enough for the pill, or to help you get linked with that. Yeah.
Okay. That's a lot like what we have here that I interviewed the other day, GNSD. It's good to know that while they aren't actual abortion providers, they are agency to help you achieve towards that endeavor. Well, that's good. That's wonderful.
And even when I did just like a Google search to kind of see, there is a lot of stuff that with very minimal looking, you're able to find some resources. Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains just kind of covers that area. And again, that's based in Colorado. There are a couple like on the state, on one of the interstates on like the Colorado state line, there's a big billboard that says, you can come here for abortions if you need to.
Nice.
Right now Governor Gordon believes every state should get to decide. So I feel like he is going to jump on the bandwagon soon enough to try and make it more difficult for Wyoming women.
Like they have these crazy billboards like Kristi Noem and her "We're on meth," but we can't have an abortion billboard. I don't know what goes on, but I did find out that you can get Plan B on Amazon because just as much as he hates the planet, Jeff Bezos also hates babies. So you can just pay him $8 on Amazon to kill this baby that you're having a love affair with, all you pro-lifers. The baby, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So that's their whole thing. I always like when people say that they are pro-lifers, I'm like, well, when are you getting your foster care license? Because they don't give a shit once the baby comes out. That was probably your argument when you were 15, because when I was 15, that was my argument, and they couldn't handle it and they'd get mad.
My mom and I were just having that conversation this morning. It's easy to say how much you care about this unborn because you don't have to actually do anything. You can just have that stance and look righteous and all of these things and not have to do anything. But to say you actually care about human life and fight the kids being in cages and fight how many kids are in the foster care system, then you actually have to put actions behind your words. It's the same thing as when people say how sad they are about 9/11, but then don't want to do things to put a mask on and protect someone. It's easy for you to say how sad that was because you couldn't do anything to combat it, but this you could. So it's easy to take this righteous stance on things that you don't have to put your money where your mouth is at all.
Your mom is a pro-lifer?
No. We were just talking.
Okay.
No, she might be more. It's funny because she grew up conservative, but then as I switched, she started to switch, and now she might be more like she's retired, so she can just say whatever she wants to whoever she wants, and she doesn't care.
She's evolving.
You know? Yeah.
That's nice. My mom's a QAnon supporter, so those are the cards I got dealt. No, it's okay. We don't talk. She's gonna die soon. Anyways, so let's talk about Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney, I don't understand her. They had a skit on SNL recently where she didn't even know if she was a Republican or a Democrat, and people can surprise you, but she's from your state. Considering the mass right-wing voting, I was shocked to see her out Trump in the Republican Party. I think we all were. What is your take on her? What do you feel that women in your state need to be doing better to benefit reproductive health or women's health in general? Like, can we trust a woman like Liz Cheney? Like, what is the deal? What do you feel like is going on with Liz Cheney?
I feel like the only good thing she ever did was disown Trump. Like she really only did that because it got so bad. She was like, I can't do this anymore. But she really is ultra conservative. She's just not like a QAnon. But like she's still. I think she's more old school, as they might call it, in what she does. She wants to do to protect what she thinks this nation should be. But she really did support Trump for a long time. It was really just at the end when it went just totally off the rails bananas that she really stood up. I don't know if she's going to, the Republican Party of our state is trying to make it where she will not, like, this is it for her probably. So if I were her, I would just vote yes on everything, because like, you're probably not coming back. But she still hasn't. I mean, she's still sticking true to her conservative side in some ways. Even LGBTQ stuff, she was anti for a long time, but she has a sister who's a lesbian. And so then, because it personally affected her, she slightly changed her stance on that. And it's just, it seems like so often that's what has to happen. People have to be personally affected to give a crap about something at all. And that's just too bad. I'm like, I want this to be better just so it's better for everyone, not because I necessarily have, I mean, I don't need an abortion right now, but that doesn't mean I don't think anyone else deserves to be able to do that for themselves. So
yeah,
I don't know. She's an intelligent person. Her name has gotten her a long way. And
Christy Noem's intelligent too, but she's still dumb as fuck. I don't know how you could be like that, you know? Like, it's like, how are you this, but you're also this? But that's like that pluralistic ignorance. It's like they're going to do what the crowd does. It sounds like what you're saying is Liz Cheney was for Republicans and anti-Trump, because
at the very end. Just at the end, I feel like. Yeah.
She started to see what it was about to become, and then they start to lose control. But
now they all now think she's horrible. Speaking of billboards, in Cheyenne right now, the Republican Party of the state of Wyoming has a giant yellow billboard that says Liz Cheney needs to resign immediately.
Well, somebody spent money on that, so that's a thing we can know.
Mm-hmm. And it's just giant black letters and yellow. And when I drove by, I was like, what? I'm
sure some rich rancher had the money to put that forth. It's so sad, because you think about all the money that gets wasted on this dumb shit that white men care about, rich ranching Midwestern. Nobody in the cities understands. They're all like, how can they be so dumb? And it's like, you don't understand. You don't live out here. It really is like living in Wyoming. You can sympathize with this. It is a rich white ranching culture. It's a culture. It is a culture out here, that whole mentality, and the women running the ranch, and like, not our men, not our women. And I don't even know what they're standing for anymore, because it's like, what do you even really have left? Like, what are you fighting? But it's important to them. I don't know. They think that progressives are going to come steal their cows, I guess, or that they won't be able to get their daughters pregnant anymore. I'm not sure what goes on in the Midwestern white man Republicans' mind. I don't mean to offend you if your husband is your husband a rancher?
Oh gosh, no. And he's not a conservative.
Okay. That's good.
No, I don't know if you saw it, but someone on TikTok, like right after the election, put, what would you do if your husband voted for Trump? And I said, a file for divorce tomorrow. I could not. And maybe I'm not very evolved in that way, but I could.
No, if you're pro-Trump,
didn't have used the way that, it's like fundamental things. It's not tax dollars. It's human rights. So
yeah, you can't be pro-Trump and pro-women. You got to pick a struggle. Like if you have a man that's up there who's the leader of the free nation, and he's saying grab women by the pussy, and then you're saying, oh, but I'm for women. Sorry, that's not going to work. You got to pick one. Oh my gosh. Okay, we'll be right back on Bite Me, guys. All right, guys, welcome back to Bite Me. This is season 2, episode 15, interview with vegan teacher 1988. We are talking about women's rights and abortion issues in the Midwestern area. Now, Sarah, abortion is a basic healthcare procedure, is what I'm told by my nursing friends. You're obviously, I believe, vegan and care about health. You are a teacher and you care about education. What do you think can be done to educate women and men about abortion in the Midwest? Like what needs to happen here?
Well, I think that the fear-mongering tactics used with religion are just, I'm sure you've seen the videos that show inaccurate depictions of what abortion even is. Not to mention, I feel like when abortion statistics, people don't even understand abortion statistics. You know, you hear the women who have had, my own mom, for example, she had a baby who the brain stem developed, but nothing else. Wow. It took a while for them to find that out, but then that fetus was basically killing her from the inside out. Now, it was still hard for her to decide to have an abortion, but that's still she still had to go to an abortion clinic to do that. Even though her doctor said, you absolutely have to do this or you'll die. it's still an abortion. It still goes under the abortion statistics. So when people are so fired up about things like late term abortions, people truly believe you could be due tomorrow and go get an abortion. Just the amount of inaccurate information out there is just truly insane. But those same people would say, people like my mother, well, of course you had to get an abortion. We support that. Don't understand, like, okay, well, medically necessary abortions still go into the statistics you're being fed. Every single late-term abortion is deemed medically necessary. You can't just decide on a Tuesday when you're 38 weeks pregnant that you want to, I don't want to do this anymore. So I just think, I mean, same thing with sex education. You should really be taught the realities of that in high school health class.
Like people say, instead of tackling the issue of sex education with fear and shame, it should be tackled with science and logic.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's all like you said, the fear mongering with the religion around here, I think, is a great. I mean, in Wyoming, would you say that that's a pretty handy tool for them to use in their pro-life endeavors? Yeah.
So there's no one, I would say, well, not no one, but there are very few people maybe that have had abortions at all, and even fewer that have publicly done that, where people know about it. So, I mean, I'm sure there are women who have gone and done it secretly and things like that, but it's, again, easy for them to say how horrible it is if they don't have any personal connection, or your life has been one where you haven't had to worry about that. Like, again, there's white privilege in my state. If you chose to get married at 19 and then started having kids because that's the life you chose, that's what you wanted, then maybe that's not everyone's journey though. So you can't really, you know what I mean? Like, if you've never been put in a situation to decide it, you shouldn't be deciding that for other people.
Well, I think there's a lot of women who keep it a secret too. There are women who, if they were in a crowd and asked have you gotten an abortion, they won't raise their hands, but if they're in a room full of women, they will. And so there's also that fear. I wonder what these women think will happen to them if they admitted that they got an abortion. Like, who's going to smite you? Your family? But some of them think they have things to lose, and maybe they do. I mean, I've talked to people who have wanted to get abortions and got kicked out of their homes, young girls. So that's a legitimate fear. It's too bad. It's too bad that women, I mean, just picture that for a minute. Like, men don't have to worry about this, but we do. And they're the ones making the laws. I said it to my gynecologist once. Well, I remember like 10 years ago, you had to get a pap smear every 6 months. I said, yeah, because some guy in the White House decided that our vaginas were dirty. And so now I have to come here and get a pap smear every 6 months. Like, men shouldn't be making decisions about women's vaginas unless we can make decisions about their penises, I guess.
But let's mandate, just for like 10 years, let's mandate vasectomies and then see how everybody feels about.
Yeah. Or no jacking off, you know, you're killing babies too. That's what it is.
Well, a lot of people here also have which Texas kind of blew this off the rails, but if you're sexually assaulted, that's different. So a conversation I had, I said, okay, but where does the burden of proof lie for you? If a woman came to me and said, I've been sexually assaulted, for me, that's enough. But what's enough for you? How many rape cases are sitting unprocessed? So what, if you want this magical 6-week timeline, like, that's not even, so, because so many of you love to say that women are just constantly making up that they're getting assaulted. So then what's that? If you have these boxes that have to be checked for it to be okay with you, that's just too slippery of a slope. You don't want me telling you have to get this jab, as you call it, because that violates your rights, but you wanting to tell me what I can or cannot do with it's
the fact that they have male birth control, but they don't want to deal with the side effects for me. You know, I cannot stand men. I can't stand them. I don't know if you follow Runs with Scissors on TikTok, but she and I were discussing how they've discovered that in some species, you can create a baby with just bone marrow. And I'm like, there it is. We're keeping 3 men. You pick. The rest of them have got to go. So I don't know what 3 you would pick. I guess you'd go with your husband and I'd go with my partner. Oh, who's a good
Bernie Sanders? We should save his bone marrow.
Yep, that's the one. That's it right there. I love Bernie, man. Okay, so last and unrelated question, or kind of related. I'm hoping you got a good story for me. I'm sure you do. How the hell do you stay sane in Wyoming? I struggle here, but I can only imagine what it's like there. Like, that's the most hands down, just by voting polls alone, redneck Trumpian like encounter you can have. Like, do you see them daily out there? Has one confronted you?
Well, I have had some weirdly old ladies like verbally assault me for wearing a mask. I have had my house vandalized.
What?
Yeah, penises got painted all over. Well, I shouldn't say my house, my husband's vehicles outside. Penises, fags, no gays, were painted all over our vehicles.
With paint?
Spray paint, yeah.
Oh my God.
And it turned out to be like that particular incident wasn't targeted. They don't think it happened to a bunch of people, but I have yard signs that have been stolen. So now they're like inside my windows and I've just kept them up indefinitely.
Yeah, don't let people scare you.
Gosh. No, I mean, I am always a little scared. Like the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict made me a little more scared the next time I go to a protest. But that's my privilege. I have the privilege because I'm white. I can decide if I'm going to put myself in a situation where I'm targeted. Whereas the people we're trying to be allies for and fight for don't have that choice. They're being gunned down for like.
It's true. Me and my partner have that conversation all the time because he's Hispanic and there's things that go on and I get liberal about it. And I'm like, you need to say something. He's like, I can't. He's like, do you want me to go to jail? Do you want me to get shot? It's frustrating. It's hard. But I don't know what the minority status is like out there. I mean, I imagine pretty whitewashed.
Yeah. My son, we read lots of books that are ending up on banned book lists all over the country right now. And he asked me once, he's like, well, you're always talking to me about all these people that look different, but I never see them where we live. What's up with that? So it
is key.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do whatever I can to expose him to divert. But again, we used to go like to Salt Lake City and stuff a lot, and we don't do that right now because of the pandemic. So definitely very, very whitewashed here. It's also like conservativeness that doesn't make sense. Like I've seen a few Confederate flags and I'm like,
yeah,
this is Wyoming. What are you doing? Like Wyoming was never part of the Confederacy.
What are you South Dakota? And then they have it on the police uniforms, like why is the Confederate flag on a police uniform in a state where the state didn't exist? I don't know. They have these people. I don't know.
But I've gotten to a point where it weirdly like almost gives me not the super aggressive, like people have said, if Trump gets reelected and gives the go ahead, I'll come put a bullet on your brain on your doorstep. That doesn't give me serotonin. But sometimes just like the fact that I know I'm a thorn in people's side, like I feel like does give me serotonin. I'm like, oh, who did I piss off today? So like on the 4th of July, I purposely wore my liberal snowflake t-shirt when I went to the grocery store or whatever. So people like they're already talking about me. So why not give them good material to work with? I don't always try to be controversial, but sometimes like I purposely am because I know you're talking about me anyway. So I might as well have fun with it.
My friend Jessie posted a TikTok, Soul Dakota. Again, I don't know if you follow her, but she posted a TikTok about how if it takes all those people to take down little old you, you must be threatening. I think that's pretty cool. Good for us doing it out here in these Midwestern states. So Sarah, do you have anything that you would like to plug before we go?
I just think that it's so important. There's so many charities that are important, but I donate Color of Change. The support for Afghan women, I think, is still a huge thing that needs to be remembered, that they're still there. Like just because we left doesn't mean they aren't still going through the struggles that they're going through. I strongly encourage people to also be looking into the effects of climate change and supporting legislation, calling their state representatives to get action happening with that. It's just so hard. I told my mom when I was talking about coming and doing this, I said, there are so many, it's like they're bombarding us on purpose. Yeah. So we can't fight everything. Like there's so many things that we need to be fighting right now. And it's hard. And
it's a millennial struggle. Like we happen to be and Gen X, they happen to be I don't know, Gen X, they're kind of like, but I feel like millennials and maybe even early stage Gen Zs, like we had all of this dumped on us and do what we can with what we have, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But
on my I try to cover everything on my TikTok. I try to put links to the charities that I'm trying to interact with and things in my link tree and stuff on my TikTok, veganteacher1988, just because it's an easy place that people can access it. I feel like I'm still new to this whole, not new to social media, but I really don't, it just was kind of an on the side thing that has kind of blown up a little more. I hit 100,000 followers yesterday, so that was kind of cool.
Congrats.
So,
well, you guys heard it here first. You can go to her link tree, veganteacher1988, and you can follow her, give her a like, and donate to some of those charities. I'm your host, Brooke. Be sure to check out the Truthful Groomer website, Insta, Twitter, and I'll see you next time on Bite Me. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us today, and we'll see you out there.
Thank you for